right.
That's how.
今天过来吗？享受这么美的环境吗？你也会？我妹妹。你妹妹？啊，来，
我只会弹那种的的的。
Beautiful out here. What a beautiful campus. Welcome to another episode of 10 Minutes with a Missionary. Today we got to go out to a college campus. It's actually the #2 university in all of Thailand. It's about 25 kilometers outside the city though, and I'd never been there before. Actually, I had been there once, but at night, so I didn't really get a chance to explore much. But it's such a beautiful campus. It's called Mahidol University, and they have a very famous music school there. And like I said, it's the #2 school in all of Thailand. And so we got to go out there to meet some friends who go to school there. They come and take part in Up Talk each week. And we had seen some videos of some of the buildings and some of the cafes and parks in that area in their campus. And so we got to go out for ourselves and take a look. And it was so beautiful. You know, that's one thing people don't realize. Like when you say yes to the call of God and you say, you know, I'm willing to do whatever and willing to go wherever, He takes you to some beautiful places that you know, otherwise would have never had the chance to see and experience, and also lets you meet amazing people that you would have never had the chance to meet otherwise. And so it's not all like, oh, what am I going to lose if I say yes to God? It's about what am I going to gain, and what are you going to lose, and what are you going to miss out on if you don't say yes, if you choose your way, if you don't surrender it to Him. You're really missing out on an amazing life, and you're really missing out on so many things that you'll just look back on with regret later on. But today was really cool. Like I said, we got to hang out with them, and we're building relationships right now. You know, I love this quote. It says, cultivating an atmosphere for conversation creates an opportunity for connection. And I think that's so true, because if you really want to build a relationship with someone, you need that opportunity for conversation, for there to be a connection to be made. And so that's what we did all day today, for probably, I guess, a good part of 4 hours. We were just hanging out, eating food, having coffee, walking around, taking pictures, and just getting to know each other better. And it was really, really cool experience. And that's a lot of what evangelizing is. It's not just about going through the Roman road or taking people through like the plan of salvation. That's part of it too, but it's also about building a relationship. And that's, you know, really where discipleship comes from. It's not linear. Discipleship starts when you start building a relationship with someone, and you're able to, through your own life and through the love of God that's flowing through you, through the life of God that's flowing through you, you already start to impart even before their mind catches up to what's going on. And having those conversations where you're getting to know people and just, chatting about, fun experiences you've had, or different things that you like or dislike, or relationships that you're in, or future dreams or goals, or what are some things that are really frustrating you right now. Those are all really fun conversations. But then there's some conversations you have to have in ministry that are not fun, that come with leadership, and that's part of the burden of being a leader. Sometimes you have to talk about things that are not that fun to talk about. If you have been in leadership for any period of time, you know what I mean. Sometimes there are issues that need to be addressed in your team or with other people, and those things are important, and it's really important that you deal with them as early as possible. Otherwise, they just become kind of like a cancer in your organization, in your team, in your church, whatever it is that you're building. And so as a leader, there's a great book by Henry Cloud called Boundaries for Leaders. And it really is it is on us as leaders to set the boundaries for what we expect and what we allow and what we don't allow. And it really comes down to what God has put in our hearts to build and what we desire to see come to pass. And if we allow things in our lives, our personal lives, in our teams, in our environments that we're creating, if we allow those things to continue that are contrary to what we want to see, then we really only have to blame ourselves, because really as the leader, the buck stops with us. And even though it's much more comfortable to talk about fun things and talk about things that make us happy and things that make us smile and laugh, and sometimes we have to have serious conversations with people. Sometimes we have to have serious conversations with people about maybe different patterns that they're in, and even sometimes about maybe it's sin. We have to confront people about that if they're already a believer and they're working with us. I'm not saying that we're doing that or anything right now, but that's one of the types of conversations that we have to have sometimes as a leader, that maybe it's not the funnest thing to do, but it's still something we can't shy away from, and it's still part of our responsibility. And so it's important that we don't coddle people. It's important that we don't babysit people. It's important that we call out the best in people. And just like I was reading in Greg Bosch's book about developing leaders this week, he just talks about how it's really one of the most loving things you can say to someone is that, I really believe you can do this. And Greg, I'm sorry if I'm butchering the quote, but I remember he said something like, I really believe you can do this. I see it in you, and I believe you can do this. But you're calling them up to a higher level because you see the potential inside. And I know in the past, it's been pastors, it's been coaches, it's been teachers, it's been leaders, even sometimes my parents, encouraging that in me, pulling that out of me. And that's one of the things I think is so important for leaders, because if you're not doing that to the people that you're leading, then you're really doing a disservice to them, and you're not being a good steward with the people resources God has given you. We should all be challenging each other, encouraging each other to become the best that God wants us to become the very best selves we can be for God's glory, so we can be the most effective we can be for His kingdom. Yeah, being a leader is not easy, and being a missionary and accepting that call to step out of your culture, out of your comfort zone, to enter another culture, try to reach, it's raining here, try to reach other people that are far from God. It's hard enough to do that in your own culture, but to do that in a second culture is really a challenge, because some things you can put up with in your own culture, but then sometimes you have culture shock and you don't really know how to accept other things that you encounter in new cultures and new environments and new situations. And then when you throw the language barrier or the language frustration, if you're learning language but you're still having trouble communicating, it can be really overwhelming. So if you're thinking about going to the mission field, or maybe you just started, know that that's a reality, and that's a real problem and a real test, but I can say it's worth it. It's not easy, but if God's called you to do it, He'll give you the grace to enable you to do it. His grace is sufficient for us in all of our weaknesses. And so many times for me, I know it's caused me to just really come before God and open up my heart and say, God, I need you. Like, I have to have you if you want me to do this. It's like I cannot do it on my own. And that's the moment, the moment of surrender, the moment of desperation, when you are clear in your heart that this is what God wants you to do. This is what I want with all my heart, because I feel like this is what God is calling me to and what God is speaking to me. Then and that becomes your desire. It's like in Proverbs, it says that the laborer's appetite works for him. His hunger drives him on. That becomes a new source of motivation in your life, because the Lord is putting his desires in your heart, and he's giving you the power to carry those desires out. Even when things are difficult, even when things are hard, even when, wow, this is so far outside of my comfort zone. This is so uncomfortable. This is so difficult. I have no idea how I'm going to do this, but that's the only way we actually grow. That's the only way we actually change. And God says he purposes us to change, that we're supposed to go from glory to glory, from strength to strength, from grace to grace. That the path of the righteous is like the gleam of dawn, shining brighter ever to the full light of day. And so our path in our life should be brighter and brighter. We should be becoming more and more like Jesus, which requires us to change, and which requires us to grow. And growth only happens outside of our comfort zone. Growth only happens when we are willing to do difficult things. So don't forget that. If you want to sign up for this amazing life that God has for you of obedience and being willing to follow him wherever he says go, then know that you're going to encounter some pain along the way. You're going to encounter a lot of obstacles. You're going to encounter a lot of difficulties, but it's only in doing the difficult things that we're able to grow. So I hope you enjoyed today. This has been another episode of 10 Minutes with the Missionary. Please follow, subscribe, like, share this with friends, share this on social media. Anyone that you think might be interested in checking out our content. And if you have any questions or you want to connect further, please email me at jim@hopeoverasia.org. And please, as always, pray for our team here, pray for me and my wife, and for what God has put in our heart to do here as we try to reach the unreached. Thank you so much.